Since the release of the modding tools, there have been a lot of different mods created for Slay the Spire. Character mods that add a new way to play, act mods that add new enemies to fight, relic mods, rebalance mods, and so much more. Lobotomy is a unique mod where it starts off really simple, just adding some wacky cards and a few new enemies to fight, but turns into something absolutely insane as you progress through and learn about the mechanics. This mod is based on a Japanese cult favorite monster management game, Lobotomy Corporation. It uses a lot of Lobotomy Corporation's ideas and assets to create a completely unique psychological horror type deck building roguelite in Slay the Spire. My recommendation is to play the Lobotomy mod either by itself or just with a few quality of life mods. It's not something that you experience in just one run with just one character, but you'll experience over the course of multiple runs as multiple characters with your progression staying between them. To start off with this mod, you'll have to pick the new final Meow option, Obtain Bucket, which will give you this new relic, the Bucket. While you have this bucket relic, all combats will reward you with a secondary card choice for these new abnormality cards. And these abnormality cards are all hidden at first, with only a short and creepy excerpt that gives a small hint on what the card actually does. You have to put one of these hidden abnormality cards into your deck to start earning PE points, shown by the number below your bucket relic. You can either blindly use the hidden card or just keep it in your deck for a while so you can earn these PE points at the end of every combat depending on how many abnormalities are in your deck. When you have a decent amount, right click on the abnormality card and press this key lock button to identify what the card actually is. The price of identifying is based on the rarity of the card, and most cards have multiple pages to identify to fully understand what it does. All effects on abnormality cards are always active, whether you've identified them or not. This whole researching process is just to learn what exactly the card does, and what kind of downsides it has. These abnormality cards have a lot of crazy unique effects, and some might drive you insane as you try to figure them out. A common theme is the first page or two being really good effects, while the final few pages unveil a hidden downside that can really mess you up if you're not careful. Let's use the first card that I identified this playthrough for example, Little Red Riding Hooded Mercenary. The first page says, draw an extra card at the start of each combat, while below half HP you deal 40% more damage. Cards like this are just straight up passives that are affecting you as long as they're in your deck. That sounds pretty amazing, right? As we use our hard-earned PE points through the run to research this abnormality further, we learn on the second page that every time we exhaust 3 cards in our deck, we gain this new bleeding debuff that causes us to lose 2 HP at the end of the turn. Pretty bad downside, but there's still one more page to discover. The final page is an effect that will only activate if you have another specific, not yet discovered abnormality in your hand, and will exhaust this card, making all of its effects no longer active for that battle. I want to give a few more examples of this discovery phase for these crazy abnormality cards. Since we just talked about an uncommon, let's talk about a common, Spider Bud. The first page shows us that when this card is drawn, we'll uncontrollably draw 1 extra card. The second page shows us that we can play Spider Bud as a skill to exhaust the top card in our deck. The final page makes this even better, showing us that the card draw effect on that first page can get stronger based off of how many cards we've exhausted on the second page, up to 5 cards. There are a lot of really simple common abnormalities like this, some with drastic downsides. Another really quick example is Scorched Girl, a 2 energy attack that can deal 20 or more damage depending on your hand size, but it has ethereal, and we learn from the next page, if this card is exhausted through that ethereal or through any other means, you will take 30 damage. Blue Star is a rare abnormality that gives you an extra energy per turn just for being in your deck. On its second page, you learn that you can also play this card as a type of attack to deal 6 damage times your current energy to random enemies. Sounds pretty good so far, but the downsides start coming in on the third page where you learn that whenever you end your turn with 0 energy, you'll exhaust 2 random cards in your deck. And then on the final page, you learn that if you have no cards in your hand at the end of your turn, you'll deal 12 damage to yourself. A lot of these rare abnormalities offer some super powerful passive effects like that, but can completely brick your deck if you're not careful. Ordeals are a new combat event that can randomly replace any hallway fight with a new and unique monsters from the Lobotomy Corporation game. These are usually a lot tougher than the normal hallway fights that you would rather encounter. You're meant to use these abnormality cards alongside some other things that'll make you a lot more powerful to take down these ordeals. Let me give a few examples. Act 1 Ordeal spawns 3 Fruits of Understandings that don't attack but have 4 turns each. Act 2 Ordeal spawns 4 Sweepers with 60 HP and heavy hits. They'll full heal whenever one of their friends dies. Another Act 1 Ordeal will spawn these 3 Clowns that will exhaust a card in your deck every time they hit you, and they'll explode on death. Another Act 2 Ordeal is Food Chain. Similar to the Transient, it will lose strength for every point of damage it takes its turn, and then he'll attack for a massive amount of damage and then summon a bunch of little minions. One of the Act 3 Ordeals is Where to Reach, that won't actually attack you, but will constantly summon minions starting with these Weak Doubts and then some Processes of Understanding. It'll also heal itself by 75 in between summons. These ordeals are quite a bit harder than the normal hallway fights that you'll be encountering, but they reward you with a choice of 3 new powerful lobotomy relics. These relics are of course hidden at first just like the abnormalities, but once you have it, it'll be unhidden for all future runs. While most of these relics are really powerful, most of them also come with a huge downside that requires you to be careful, similar to how the abnormalities work. A few examples of these relics are Luminous Bracelet that raises your max HP by 15, gives you 1 regen every time you lose HP, but if you don't lose HP for 6 turns, you'll then lose 10 maximum HP. Prophecy of the Skin that raises your max HP by 2 per combat, but also causes you to lose 4 HP at the start of each combat. Backwards Clock that lets you activate it once to record a point in time, and then reactivate it anytime later to return to that original point. The Act 3 Ordeals are really challenging and will require a really good deck with some solid AoE and scaling damage. Once you've defeated one of these Act 3 Ordeals, you'll be rewarded with an At Midnight relic, which when toggled on will replace the Act 3 boss to a Midnight Ordeal boss, one of the final challenges. These fights are insanely tough. You're going to have to bring some of the best decks utilizing some of these abnormalities and new relics to even think about defeating them. Defeating this Midnight Ordeal will win the run and unlock the next Ascension level, just like normal. When you have a certain amount of abnormalities identified, you'll see a new option whenever you take the bucket to look back. This will introduce you to Lobotomy Corporation's Angela, who will offer you a drink at the beginning of runs if you've been losing lately that can give you more PE that you can use to identify, 160 gold, or a deployment of the Rabbit Team. The Rabbit Team is a relic that you can use once per run to spend your PE points and deploy rabbits to fight by your side. The rabbits deal a ton of damage and are really helpful for some of the ridiculous fights in this mod. As you unlock 30% of all abnormalities, you'll unlock a new option at Angela to challenge, which will turn all ordeals this run white. These white ordeals will now randomly replace hallway fights with these fixers, super powerful enemies with 200 or more HP and really heavy hitting attacks. The fixers come in all sorts of different colors and have their heavy hitting attacks and another skill. For example, the white fixer will go immune and reflect all damage for a turn. If you manage to get to Act 3 against these guys, the final boss will now be replaced with a new Midnight Ordeal, the Claw, an insanely powerful boss with 1000 HP and a ridiculous amount of damage. After seeing this boss, your next run will be greeted by a new character, Mayo, who will explain more about the Rabbit Protocol system we talked a bit about earlier. From now on, every time you take the bucket, you'll also be given a charge of this Rabbit Protocol. When you unlock 60% of the abnormalities, you'll be able to give back the bucket to Angela, which then unlocks her as a playable character. She's a really cool character. Her starter deck is just 8 of these bullets that deal 8 damage, but you're able to add some cards to your starter deck with the opportunity to expand 3 out of 9 departments at the beginning of your run. Each of these departments give you a different card, and you'll able to expand them further into the run to get even more effects. For example, the Control Team Order lets you choose 2 cards to cost 1 less energy this turn, the Central Team Order will discard all bullets to gain 6 block each, and the Training Team Order lets you upgrade 3 cards in your hand. One really annoying thing about Angela is that she's not able to see health bars, intents, or even statuses until she upgrades the information department multiple times. Personally, I hate this and I always go information with her because of this. Every combat victory will reward you with 2 LOB points that can be spent on various things like upgrading each department's cards to make them slightly stronger. You can spend 2 points to gain an additional bullet in your deck, and then 5 points to expand the department that gets their next unlock, up to 3 times. You can also expand departments at rest sites. These department unlocks give you various passives or cards. Expanding the record team twice will make all gold rewards 50% higher. Upgrading the information team 3 times will give you 4 max HP whenever you add an abnormality to your deck. Expanding the control team twice gives you a TT2 protocol card that plays your entire hand left to right for 3 energy, and fully expanding the records team will give you an extra potion slot. Upgrading these departments will unlock several different types of bullets that you can switch between on the menu to the left. The disciplinary team gives you a Culipoth intervention field that applies weak and vulnerable to enemies. The central command team unlocks the physical intervention shield that turns bullets into blocking cards, and also the trauma shields that can give you 1 artifact. The various bullets, cards, and other effects added from these departments paired with the abnormalities is what makes this class really interesting to play. As for her actual pool of her own cards, she only gets 2 choices of card rewards from each combat, and a lot of these cards are extremely basic. There are really simple attacks like Grinder Mark IV that deals 2 damage 3 times, and Wrist Cutter that makes the enemy take extra damage whenever they're attacked again. There are simple skills like Today's Expression that removes all debuffs to give you block per debuff, and Red Eyes that gain strength if the enemy plans on attacking. Angela has a lot of exhaust energies that pair really well with many of the abnormalities. She has powers like Regret that gives you Metallicize every time you exhaust, and Cherry Blossom that deals damage every time you exhaust as well. If you choose to challenge at the beginning of the run, all ordeals will be white, just like before, but now that you're playing as Angela, there's a new secret Act 4 type ending available. You'll fight a gauntlet of monsters based on these different departments that have insanely high health pools and do crazy things like removing all of your debuffs, hiding all of your cards, ending your turns early, and more. If you manage to defeat this gauntlet, you'll be able to fight a final epic secret boss for the true victory. This is where the mod starts getting really crazy. I would hate to spoil this part and would like to leave some mystery for you guys, so I'll let you discover this. Speaking of this mod being really crazy, let's look at the separate LobotomyExtra mod. This mod is by the same creator. It's like an expansion to the original mod, adding some crazy mechanics to these existing cards, and a new event with a whole bunch of new relics and everything. The biggest thing that this mod lets you do is activate many abnormalities to summon them onto the battlefield. There's 12 in total that you can activate, and each one has a drastically different effect. Some will help you, some will fight against you, some won't do either. It's not exactly obvious what many of these summoned abnormalities do. Usually it involves waiting a few combats. You'll have to experiment and discover a lot of it as you progress through the run. Let's take a look at the Red Riding Hood Mercenary again. This is one of the abnormalities that can be activated to summon her behind your character, where she'll just wait a few turns. Then she'll mark a target enemy to help you in combat until there are no enemies left, which then she'll target you, and you'll have to kill her. If you defeat her, you'll be given a new relic, Request, that you can activate to pay PE based on the enemy type to summon the mercenary to target them. The Night of Despair abnormality usually gives you a passive where you gain 50% more block. But if you use this bucket to activate it, that card will be removed from your deck and the knight herself will join you in battle, giving you a new buff that makes you take 50% less damage until you take a certain amount. Once you take that amount, you lose this buff and the knight awakens, first targeting enemies with big attacks, and then once there are no enemies left, they'll target you. Defeating her will give you another new relic, the Sword Sharpened by Tears. That makes you deal 40% extra damage if you have any debuffs. The other main thing that the LobotomyExtra mod adds is a new event where you search 6 different rooms to interact with many of the abnormalities firsthand. To access this event, you must first take the invitation letter that usually comes as a reward from the first combat, and gives you a chance to summon this event whenever you climb a floor. There are 6 rooms in total, shown by the eye at the top right. You're able to search, which will show you what's in each room, but will consume time. Time is an unlimited resource in this event, but many of the abnormalities' effects will change depending on how much time that you've let pass. When you enter a room, you can investigate, which will once again use up more time to see the abnormality's danger level, or interact with it, which will give you its effect. Sometimes this effect is nothing. Sometimes it's a combat, sometimes it'll let you upgrade cards, remove cards, sometimes it'll just straight up kill you. Once again, experimentation and discovery is a big part of this event. Interacting with La Luna will let you upgrade some cards in return for taking a bunch of damage, and then give you the Moonlight Relic that switches the music every 3rd combat, and while that music is switched, La Luna will enter the combat to help you. Interacting with the broken clock will send you all the way back to Act 1, Floor 1 with the same cards and relics. And there are a lot more I'll let you discover. I can see why the creator left this content as a separate mod. With all these new summonables, relics, and crazy effects, your screen can get really bloated and hard to understand, but at the same time it is super fun discovering all of this stuff and using a lot of these powerful new mechanics to help you with the very tough fights that this mod has. And that's it for the Lobotomy mod. I really suggest trying this mod out if you haven't already. It goes far above and beyond what you'd expect from an average Slay the Spire mod. It's also extremely tough, so if you're looking for a new challenge, here you go. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know if you have any suggestions for cool mods that I should look at, and I hope you have a great day. Before I end, I would like to thank my 2 members for supporting the channel, Mr. Fatcat and Boomer2046. Thank you a lot, and I appreciate you very much.